I seriously didn't know that things got this bad for this Rachel Zegler Snow White movie, but I'm reading this right now, and I'm worried about Rachel Zegler's career. I don't see how she comes back from this.
There are empty theaters all around the country. We are now at a 1 out of 10 on IMDb for the new Snow White, and couldn't happen to a better person.
She doesn't need a prince to save her, and not surrounded by 7 weird people. Oh, okay, just CGI fictional goblins, I guess.
Every time she speaks, she gets less likable.
She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. And mainly because of her, and because nobody wanted to support her.
Controversy around the film began ever since we learned that there would be no Prince Charming because apparently he kissed her without consent, and also no woman needs a man to rescue her. The movie also used CGI for the 7 dwarfs rather than actors because they thought using real people would be offensive.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat. Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And if she hadn't have opened her mouth, I think that this movie might have done well. They might have just been able to ride on the hopium of the movie and some well-cut trailers, and people would have paid to go see it. And then it would have fallen off when people knew it was garbage.
I don't think they're going to buy it. I don't think they're going to watch it. I don't think they're going to like it.
But Rachel Zegler made it so hateable that you really sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. I don't know how anyone would ever want to go into business with her.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
Yeah, we had more dwarfs than we did viewers in most of these theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them.
You know they say, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
Do you know, how hard it is to find an attractive young woman in Hollywood who can act and sing? It's not hard. Who just isn't going to offend half the country.
This truly is the worst casting, maybe, in the history of the film industry.
Disney's Bob Iger says their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White sales compete for worst performing live-action Disney adaptation ever.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed. She's unhappy. The reality is she's just not stable. Like the majority of people in Hollywood, they're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. It's the Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too. They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Some of you want us to hire actual dwarf humans, and then we thought we would have CGI magical creatures. How about this? We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarf.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, how badly did Disney's new Snow White flop after all?
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
We received breaking news since, it seems, the only thing that can happen these days is Disney's reputation and their most recent disaster, in which independent business owners took everything Snow White down. Off the shelves, and with good reason. Let's dissect it. Yes, people, the House of Mouse somehow believed it was brilliant to update a traditional fairy tale by essentially destroying everything that people adore about it. And guess who's at the heart of this meltdown? Rachel Zegler, the self-proclaimed Hollywoodic girl who seems to believe that the Disney empire as a whole exists only to cover her hourly dress-wearing fees.
For every one of the 18 hours I am in this Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay. I'm sure she got underpaid as a Disney lead actor.
People have been discussing Disney's dubious choices for a while, but this time they really outdid themselves. Did they think fans wouldn't notice a huge budget going down the drain faster than you can say once upon a time? If so, they're in for a rude awakening. Let's go back a minute. If you think that's hyperbole, stay tuned. This saga is more interesting than a reality show reunion special. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe because, let's face it, without your support, I'm nothing. Not just any animated movie, The first Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the one that established Walt Disney's Golden Empire in 1937. It's like tampering with grandma's recipe. If you do it incorrectly, you'll be talking about it at every holiday get-together for the next 50 years.
A few lessons for Disney. Number one, stop cannibalizing all your old IP. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad business. Number two, please stop changing all of the historic plots, which actually have meaning to generations of people, to instead become generic woke story about how woman leads revolutionary uprising and she don't need no man.
However, it seems that the risk didn't deter Disney executives, who approved a remake that test audiences characterized as a montage of sporadic TikTok trends masquerading as a feature film. The response was so harsh that you would think they had shelved the project instead, investing more in post-production and public relations spin. According to some insiders, Disney believed the brand was infallible on its own, but that may be stretching it given that the fans undoubtedly found the chins in the armor and blasted right through them. Now, let's talk about the money. It is anticipated that Carnage Snow White 2025 would rank among the largest financial social networks in Disney's recent history.
That story is Snow White. Snow White bombs, breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening ever. Let me say that again, ever.
I mean, look at this right here. Snow White crashes 70% in second weekend box office.
Every time a new box office forecast is lower than the previous one, you can almost hear the corporate executives squirming. Early viewers rushed out of nearly empty theaters looking equally confused and furious, as if they had just seen an avant-garde art film go horribly wrong. The movie's rating fell to an astounding 1.6 out of 10, as if the entire internet decided to give up on this project all at once.
Zoom in right there, that's it. 163,000 rating, of which it got 1.6, not out of 5. Like, sometimes you go to McDonald's, it's 1.6 out of 5.
Yeah.
1.6 out of 10.
Because once more, look at this right here. This movie has crashed in the second week that it's been out. 70% this movie
The
crashed.
film's direction is so perplexing, according to review after review, that even cynical social media users, who often have no patience for cinematic train wrecks, are claiming that this is a sign that Disney may finally be losing its magic wand. In relation to social media, it's humorous. The jokes for Goldmine range from crude analogies of the plot to an extremely awful school play to sarcastic allusions to progressive dwarfs who reportedly chose to ghost the movie.
The movie went over budget, right? Went over about $250 million. They had the whole dwarf midget issue where they decided they weren't going to have any midget actors, right? They were having DEI-inspired magical creatures to replace.
Yeah. I remember back in 2023 when this was going on and all the little people making videos saying, well, wait, there's so few roles for us in Hollywood. We're being passed over for this. You could have cast 7 little
Peter
people.
Dinklage.
And individuals aren't only griping about the plot. They're also angry at the tone, lighting, and everything else. This is a well-rounded failure. If you thought the movie would be salvageable despite its dismal box office performance, think again. Viewers claim the plot is so jumbled that it looks like an overly enthusiastic editor combined 3 incomplete scripts. Snow White sings a contemporary pop anthem in one moment, and then the action shifts to a somber dystopian set piece that isn't appropriate for this fairy tale. The original whimsical prince is no longer present. Instead, we are given an uncomfortable empowerment plotline that seems like a last-minute appearance.
Her heroine cannot be in love or be saved by a man, the prince, that she's more focused on becoming the leader she was meant to be, as if women in modern-day America must make that choice.
Critics claim that the film is more about delivering a message that stops the plot in its tracks than it is about honoring strong female leads. And let's not even talk about the last dance scene, in which everyone dances around in all white, as if they walked off the set of a cult documentary. Some people left the theater muttering, "That was 30 seconds of my life I'll never get back." You would think that Disney would have realized by now that making drastic changes to a classic always ends badly, but apparently no memo was received, and at the heart of it all stands perhaps Queen of Questionable Takes would be a more apt description of Rachel's lure than Queen of Controversy. Prepare your popcorn because Rachel's lure is currently a walking PR time bomb. While she did have some early career promise and sang in other musicals, her attitude towards Snow White has been as cold as an iceberg. She has publicly called the original story out of date and made snide remarks about the prince being a stalker.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Because the best way to honor a legacy is to constantly disparage it while collecting Disney's paychecks. She went one step further and demanded payment for each hour she spent wearing the famous Snow White garment, which infuriated fans.
I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
People have real problems and no one gives a if she got paid for 17 instead of 18 on her multi-million-dollar salary, which is not calculated by the app.
One indignant reader said, "Why take it as a fair question if you detest the role so much?" Zegler's social media page swiftly turned into a public battleground as her detractors accused her of being conceited. In response, she called them outdated since, as you may know, insulting your potential audience is undoubtedly how you gain followers. Many people believe Zegler is her own worst enemy, despite some accusing her of being the target of a planned smear effort. She retweeted admirers who applauded her bravery while disregarding everyone else's views. Class is in session if you wanted to learn how to handle public relations poorly. Snow White also has the subtlety of a jackhammer when it comes to political overtones. There is no delicate weaving of contemporary values into a classic narrative. No. This is more like a fire hose blasting out disclaimers about social justice identity and everything else you'd expect from a dozen mismatched focus groups. Meanwhile, Disney's marketing team is presumably sitting in a corner quietly sobbing into the script, as if the interpersonal drama wasn't enough.
Be a leader as a female and fall in love and be rescued by a prince, like that's incongruous. Bull. That's only the left's version of what it means to be a strong woman or female empowerment.
Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights. Come on.
Go get Cheshire Cat.
Go vote blue. And if you disagree with the sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Wow, what a scene.
I don't need your business.
So she just encapsulates everything that most of us cannot stand about modern day feminism and the left in general, and Hollywood.
Both the left and the right are already rolling their eyes, which is a significant accomplishment in and of itself. Political analysts are referring to the movie as a classic example of a trendy lecture. First, there is entertainment. Second, you can really hear the production meetings. We need more empowerment-related bullet points, fewer dwarfs, and more moral instruction. If you were hoping the producers would realize that combining contemporary messaging with fairy tale charm requires real finesse, Disney's official line is that they're celebrating Snow White's timeless bravery because we can all remember the iconic scene in the original where Snow White stops mid-song to chastise the audience for not being politically enlightened. This movie will let you down more quickly than a bad 4th of July fireworks display. There are rumors circulating that Disney's corporate headquarters are in full-blown crisis mode.
Disney's Bob Iger says their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White sales compete for worst performing live-action Disney.
Imagine it as a burning clown car. Many people are rushing around in circles. There is discussion of last-minute product pullbacks from store shelves, and some staff are calling the Snow White merchandise a financial nightmare due to toxic inventory. With ticket sales and free flight, the marketing effort essentially had to deceive us about how captivating this fresh perspective would be, but the production costs alone surged above $250 million. Big names like Bob Iger are facing the wrath of investors who are as happy as an old troll under a bridge. Insiders suggest that C executives may be polishing their resumes in case this fiasco goes so badly that it upends the entire chain of command. Speaking of appending things, some employees began calling the project Snow Wrong, which is probably one of the more polite nicknames that are circulating. Perhaps they should have paid attention to the first round of test audiences who essentially pleaded with them to quit while they were ahead. Now, let's zoom out. This catastrophe is being watched by the whole entertainment business, as if it were the 4th of July. Bright Light's rival studios are collecting notes on exactly how not to manage a legacy property because of the loudness and the occasional person stealing. If Disney's crown jewel can fail this catastrophically, who's to say other upcoming remakes won't follow suit? It's not just about Snow White. This fiasco has spurred a wider discussion about whether Hollywood's never-ending stream of remakes should be stopped. People are realizing that a poor script or an actress who openly makes fun of others cannot be concealed by a lot of fancy computer graphics. What is the lesson of the Snow White story? Based on the source material she was paid to bring to life, one can only hope that studios will be a little more cautious in the future when it comes to remaking beloved classics. First of all, perhaps refrain from stomping all over a timeless fairy tale in an attempt to gain social media clout. Secondly, if you're Rachel Zegler, think twice before insulting your original fan base, especially if you want them to see your film, because guess what? They're not buying it literally or figuratively. From the dubious creative choices to the embarrassing errors, this fiasco is turning out to be Disney's biggest warning tale. There are whispers circulating regarding urgent re-edits. There may be more twists in the works, as insiders hint at deleted scenes that were cut in a desperate attempt to appease outraged fans and possible lawsuits. However, let's face it, the damage is done once Mighty Juggernaut has stumbled and the internet is having a field day. There may even be legal threats if the negativity doesn't stop. A tale as old as time. A large studio undervalues the influence of an ardent audience if the blame game becomes too personal. If you want to receive every scandalous update, subscribe right away, because at the rate this train is going, the star says too much and the meltdown becomes the stuff of Hollywood legends. Thank you for listening, everyone. Keep in mind that fairy tales don't always end happily ever after, especially when conceit, a poorly written screenplay, and a delusional marketing team come together like a perfect storm. If Disney wants to clean up this mess, they might need more than just a magic mirror. They'll need a reality check. Hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments section, whether positive or negative. After all, the next plot twist might be even more ridiculous than the all-white final dance number, if that's even possible. Let's see if the corporate wizards can work a miracle, or if this remake is destined to live in disgrace, much like that regrettable theme park church. Until next time, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay informed.